Well, and I'm sure that some of you would like to follow up on that, but I want to open this up now to those of you students who have questions for the Congressman so that we can delve into this and many other areas. So who would like to go first here? Who in this audience is going to be the brave first person who approaches the microphone? All right, back there.
My name is John Smappanato. I'm a graduate student in the Wagner School, and I'm focusing on aid development. It's one of the many areas where you've become an expert and exercised a lot of leadership. I was
and we
curious.
haven't even really talked about aid yet. Here.
Foreign aid, yeah, foreign aid. Not at all, which is what I was associate you with, and it hasn't even come up. So I guess most people don't care about aid, but
I do, and I'm glad you do.
You do. I'm curious about just general trends that you've seen about ways that sort of priorities in the White House and Congress and in the public have changed over the past 10, 20 years as far as public support for aid. And then do you think we're getting better or worse at it, and why would that be?
Good question, John. And I think the answer is that we are getting actually better at it. I'm not patting myself on the back because I didn't have that much to do with it. I never had a town hall before September 11th, 2001, that I didn't get a question from people saying, why are we spending all this money on foreign aid? I always would ask them, I said, well, how much do you think we spend of our budget? Oh, we spend 50% of our budget on foreign aid. Nobody ever thought it was less than 10%, And of course, it's less than 1% that we actually spend on it. Since 2001, attitudes have changed. People do understand that the foreign assistance budget is connected to our national security. They do understand that. They still want to see it spent well. They want to see it spent correctly. And they don't like abuse, and they don't like it wasted, and they don't like what they hear has been going on in Iraq in some of these cases. But they do understand the connection between it. So I do think there is more of a connection there, more support for foreign assistance than there ever was. Now on this issue, if we're going to grade the president, he gets pretty close to an A on this. This president has asked for bigger increases in foreign assistance than any president by far. Congress hasn't given him all that he's asked for, but he's asked for huge increases in foreign assistance. And in two areas, he's been very, very successful. One is the creation of the Millennium Challenge Corporation, which I believe is a new paradigm for delivering foreign assistance, and perhaps in some questions we can go into that. The other is, of course, in the AIDS program, where he made a commitment to spend $15 billion over 5 years. At that time, we were spending about as I recall, the year he made that commitment, about $700 million a year in aid, in international AIDS relief. So that was, if 15 billion over 5 years, if you took it flatline, would be $3 billion a year. So we ramped that up fairly quickly, and we were under $3 billion for 2 years. Last year and this year, we're considerably over $3 billion, and next year we'll exceed the $15 billion, assuming we have anything close to the funding that we've had before. We'll exceed the $15 billion. The president, I think, gets credit for doing that, as he does for the amount of money he's put into the Millennium Challenge Corporation. Some would say traditional programs have suffered, whether it's been basic education or whether it's been some of the other health care programs, or whether it's been democracy around the world. Some of the other programs have suffered. But of course, with the supplemental bill for Iraq and the amount of money that we spent there, the foreign assistance budget just ballooned tremendously after 2003. For a year or two. It's gone back down now, but with that huge increase in the supplemental appropriation for both Afghanistan and Iraq, we've seen a huge increase in the amount of money that we've spent on foreign assistance.
Although you were, just to follow up on that very good question, you were saying that it is your view, and it has also been President Bush's view, that part of what makes foreign aid important is that it is a national security issue for this country. You, I remember, were advocating more foreign aid for Egypt, for example, and ran into some resistance at various points, which brings me to the question of how sophisticated do you think Congress is as an institution in looking at the complexities of the need for foreign aid? How well informed about these countries and what they need and their relationship to our country are your colleagues generally?
I would say they're generally pretty poorly informed on that. I'd have to give them a better grade than the average American who's out there busy doing a 9-to-5 job, where these people have to make it their point to understand some of these issues. But no, I don't think they do. And I think that's why whoever's chairman of the subcommittee and the relationship he has with the ranking Democrat makes in this case, me and Mrs. Lowy from New York, makes a huge difference. We've been able to craft a bipartisan approach to foreign assistance so that when we got to the floor, members, whether they were from the far left or you go all the way over to members on the far right, who would come up to me and say, I trust what you've done here. You've worked this out with Nita, and I think you've got a very good bill. And we passed the last bill a year ago, this year also by almost the same margin, but a year ago we passed the foreign assistance bill with 393 votes out of 435. We've gone back to World War II and we can't find any foreign aid bill that ever passed with that kind of a vote in the House of Representatives. It's an easy one to vote no on because it doesn't benefit your constituents at home. But we got that kind of vote because we were able to put together that kind of a bipartisan approach. And so there's always going to be an issue or two. Egypt was one of them. Saudi Arabia was another. The Palestinian question is another. There's always going to be a couple of issues that people are going to want to get up and make their views known on. And members can say, this is an easy throwaway vote on this one. I can satisfy my Jewish constituency at home or my Armenian community or whatever it might be by casting this vote out there. We were able to stave off most of those, but every once in a while you don't succeed.
So another question from one of the students. Yes, how about you?
This is on a completely different topic, but.
And if you just give us your name.
Oh, Nora Toiv, undergraduate politics major. I had a question about, I was looking through your votes, and.
Uh-oh, that's always good interest, Nora.
Now you're in trouble.
Now I am in trouble.
One jumped out at me. In retrospect, do you think that you cast the correct vote in impeaching President Clinton? And if so, if that lowered the standard for impeachment? And also, if you think that the current president has committed any impeachable acts that the House would consider to be impeachable?
No, I would defend my votes. I voted 4 of the 5. I thought one of the fifth article clearly didn't reach the level where the proof had been sufficient there. I'm satisfied with the votes that I cast on that, and let me tell you why. I think the majority of the American people have confused the issue here. They thought this impeachment was about his sexual conduct. It was not. It was about what he did in response to that. It was about suborning perjury from a staff member. It was about his attempt to try and keep it from to cover it up. Those are and would be, if it was you in the general sector or somebody from Enron or anything, those are not only not impeachable, those are felonies. Those are felony offenses. And people do get tried all the time for perjury. And it happens all the time. So I do think that the president met that standard as far as the impeachment went. I could care less about what his own behavior. I mean, I may find it offensive, personally offensive, but that's certainly not a reason to remove him from office. But these other things, what he did subsequent to that, and I read the Starr report completely, and I think it met the test for impeachment. Does that mean that this president, I don't agree with everything this president does politically, and I didn't agree with everything that President Clinton did, but I certainly don't think that that meant that he should be impeached for that. Either of these presidents would be impeached for that kind of thing. So no, I don't think that there's any standard of proof that would suggest that President Bush has reached an impeachable offense. That is, I guess what you're driving at would be that he somehow deliberately concocted evidence about in the war in Iraq. We had faulty intelligence. We had bad intelligence, as we did, I might add, in North Korea. The other way, we thought the things were not nearly as bad in North Korea as it turned out that they were. Intelligence is a very subjective thing and doesn't always come out the way you think it should. But we had bad intelligence. There's no question about it. I think the president acted on the intelligence that he had, but I don't think that it was certainly not an impeachable offense.
Do you think, as some members have said, just to interrupt myself for a second, that though they voted to impeach President Clinton, they didn't think he should be removed from office, which I always thought was kind of odd. It's like a prosecutor charging somebody with a crime but assuming that he
then
didn't want them
no
to be
penalty.
convicted. I assume you do think he should have been removed from office.
That is the only, if he doesn't go to prison for it, that is the only thing that you can do. That is the only penalty for an impeachment. Whether you impeach a judge, he's removed as a judge. Yes, that's it. So yeah, I don't think there's any question in my mind that if we did that, I knew that that's what we were doing.